Hey, welcome in. Well, I'll take woke lunacy for 200, Alex. Yes, this is insane. This is yet another of the death by a trillion cuts of wokeness. Something that, I guess, on its own, maybe doesn't seem like that big of a thing. It's just that it's everywhere. It's happening everywhere, all the time. Here's from Variety. Jeopardy contestant calls alleged white power hand sign a terrible misunderstanding. So the claim is this Jeopardy contestant used a white power hand sign. I mean, he must be some sort of monster, and it's an alleged white power hand sign, right? Alleged by who? Lunatics, I guess. But what happened here? So you had this contestant. He won 3 times in a row. The first time he won, he held up 1 finger. The second time he won, he held up 2 fingers. And after the third time that he won, he held up 3. But he did it like this, which is almost kind of like the OK symbol, I guess, which somehow some people think is like a white power symbol now, which is very ridiculous and insane. But it's something that the media actually takes seriously for some bizarre reason. I guess because they have to find the enemy, the boogeyman, everywhere, right? They have to be constantly telling you, look, there's another bad man. Look, he's holding up 3 fingers, right? All right. So that's his crime. So it seems like actually nothing, doesn't it? It seems like it's not a story. One time he held up 1 finger, wins twice, holds up 2, wins 3 times, holds 3. Of course, this has to be taken to levels of woke absurdity because somebody's got to be bad, and it might as well be him. Just going to interrupt for 1 second to say, if you like this content, subscribe so you can see more. Thanks a lot. Anyway, Variety. What do they say about this? A Jeopardy contestant who used a hand sign allegedly associated with a white power group says the gesture was a terrible misunderstanding as alumni of the game show call on producers to address the controversy. It says over 560 former Jeopardy players published a letter on Medium addressing contestant Kelly Donahue's 3-fingered hand sign, which they allege is associated with the white power group known as the 3%ers. Who is the 3%? Does anybody know who that is exactly? How many of them are there? Are there 5 of them? Who are these people? Do you think that this guy knows who they are? Do you think that this guy wanted to try and destroy his life so that he could support some group, some fringe group that nobody even knows who they are? Do they even really exist? Do you know anybody who's had a run-in with the 3%ers lately? Anyway. So 560 former Jeopardy players published a letter. Why? Don't they know the story of how he won once, he held up 1 finger, he won twice, he held up 2, he won 3 times, he held up 3? Have none of them, I mean, apparently they're supposed to be quite smart, have none of them considered the fact that maybe it's nothing, maybe that's literally all he was doing was saying, hey, I won 3 times now. I find this bizarre. Like this moral panic amongst former Jeopardy players. It's weird. So what do they say in the letter? They say a recent contestant has caused concern among Jeopardy viewers for 2 separate occurrences. And we former contestants feel the need to speak out against the messaging that these choices communicated, either intentionally or unintentionally, by the contestant Kelly Donahue and implicitly by association, the producers of Jeopardy. And they make, they're careful to note here that intentionally or unintentionally doesn't matter. Somebody was offended, so, this has to be dealt with. Let's see, they refer to his hand signal where he holds up 3 fingers for his 3 wins. The letter referred to this symbol as a racist dog whistle. Or not. Or it's just incredibly unlikely that that's what he was doing, right? It's just incredibly unlikely that he was doing anything than just signifying that he's won 3 times. That just seems obvious. And what did he say? He said, and this Donahue addressed this. He said there was no hidden agenda or any malice behind the gesture, beyond the indication that he was a 3-time winner. That just seems overwhelmingly likely, doesn't it? Overwhelmingly likely. Many of the great champions of old had a little signature hello they would do on screen when being introduced by Johnny Gilbert, Donahue wrote. I decided to count my victories. That's a 1, that's a 2, that's a 3. No more, no less. Had I managed to repeat as a champion, you'd have been treated to a 4. So on his 4th appearance, he lost. So he only got as far as 3. And of course, he apologized. You should never apologize. What's the point? You'll never be forgiven. I mean, before they move on to something else, the social justice mob will probably try and destroy his life, get him fired from his job, whatever, right? No point trying to apologize. They won't accept it. But anyway, what does he say? He says, I absolutely, unequivocally condemn white supremacy and racism of any kind. It's shameful to me to think anyone would try to use the stage of Jeopardy to advance or promote such a disgusting agenda. During the taping of my 4th episode, I was simply raising 3 fingers to mark my 3rd win. There was nothing more I was trying to indicate. And that is where it should just end, right? But it won't, and this doesn't help, because they don't want your apology. They want to just ruin you. But it turns out this wasn't his only crime. Not his only crime. Turns out the day before Donahue made his hand gesture on television, he used a slur against Roma people on Monday Night Show. And then he was corrected by guest host Anderson Cooper, who's a very good human being. Very good human being, didn't you know? So what was this slur that he used? Well, he said gypsy. So did anybody even know that gypsy was non-PC now? Was anybody even aware that you couldn't use that anymore? I mean, if you're, a university professor, maybe you knew that a couple of years ago or something. I think it's fairly recent that you have to say Roma. But anyway, so he has to be persecuted for this too. And the letter, the former contestants in their letter said, as people whose lives have been largely beneficially impacted by this show and its community, the Jeopardy community, everything has to have a community now, right? Everything has to be a community. Soon we'll have like the left-handed community, right? Will we soon have the, short-sighted community? Will that be something? Anyway, we really hope to see a statement and a disavowal of both of this week's events, and we would like to see Jeopardy address Kelly's behavior. We know that contestants sign morals and ethics-related arguments when they prepare to appear on the show, and we would ask the production team to evaluate the situation within that framework. Nothing happened. He didn't do anything wrong. Leave him alone. I mean, I wish that he would have shown a little bit of backbone and spine and said, look, this is stupid. I'm not going to apologize. You people are freaking insane. Because it is going to take people to actually start doing this, right? People, even if they're not, this guy he has a very fleeting relationship with some small amount of fame, right? But it's going to take those people to just say, no, I'm not playing this game with you. You're not going to forgive me anyway, and you don't even care about that. No, I'm not apologizing to crazy people. I mean, what does anybody think this Jeopardy contestant, based on him holding up 3 fingers after he'd held up 1 finger and then 2 fingers the day before, holding up 3 fingers, does anybody really think that's evidence of anything? Does any sane person think that? Does anybody think that because he said gypsy instead of Roma? How many other people would make that same mistake? It's impossible to keep up with all the wokeness. It's impossible to keep up with all the political correctness because it changes minute to minute. And that is what wokeness is. Wokeness is just this obsession with punishing any perceived infraction of wokeness all the time, whether it's there or not. They have to find it because it's the only way that you show your virtue. And it's the only way you can get your other lunatics on Twitter to like and retweet your posts, I guess, right? Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you just like to listen, there's the podcast, Radio Baloney. It's on pretty much every platform. If you look for it, you will find it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.